Alright, so let me introduce this video. This is hopefully, well, not really hopefully, but probably will be one of my last response videos. See, you know, as most of you know, theism is dying on the internet and on YouTube. A lot of my favorite atheists don't make videos anymore because how long can you talk about an imaginary being that doesn't exist, that you don't believe in? You know, what can you do? And the theists of all their crap has been debunked at this point, and so so all that's left is just some presuppositional apologetics that just is a bunch of words that means go on the attack and don't actually defend your own beliefs, as you'll see in this as I talk to Crap is Truth. So anyway, so as I'm going through, I find that there's a lot of there's not really a lot of theists left, so I was going to start talking about my rationalist movement and start doing videos on that, but I've been involved in a week with this troll, and so I am going to respond to his video, and then after that I'll probably starve him out and not respond to anything else because it's tiring listening to this person. You can read the conversation yourself. I don't really care if he becomes an atheist or not. I do not believe it, and if we're going to make policy, public policy, any kind of social policy, anything that's going to interact on other people, like he can, like Crap is Truth can believe in whatever the hell he wants to believe in. Whatever's sufficient for him to believe, he's allowed to believe it. As long as it doesn't impose on me or it doesn't impose on society, you believe all day long. Okay? But once you enter the arena of here's of what we're going to do for everyone else, then you have to show reasons for your beliefs. Okay? And at that point, you are making a positive claim, as he says 100 times. All right? So, and then you have to evaluate those things. He's never asked me what I actually believe. He's never said, because atheism doesn't tell you anything about what I believe. Atheism just says I don't believe in a God. He's never actually asked me what I do believe to find out my positive claim. But he thinks atheism is a positive claim. I don't believe in something is positive. How? I don't know. But he doesn't really believe it. He's just trying to justify his God. Anyway, here you go.
Hey guys, this is ChristisTruth1. I'm coming to you today. I know I haven't made videos in a long time, in a really long time, but something interesting has happened. I actually got in a conversation with Philosophy Man 76, and it's turning kind of crazy because this guy, I like to call him Philosophy Boy.
First off, you're not having a conversation with me. You're having a conversation with yourself because you say things, I answer them, and then you refuse to accept my answers and say it's illogical and then ask me the same questions over again. Or you just change my answers to whatever it is you think I said, as you'll see as we go through this video, and then you answer that. So you're not having a conversation with me. Conversation means that you talk back and forth with another person. You're just, well, I guess you're having a conversation. You just have a conversation with someone in your head. Oh, maybe that's who Philosophy Boy is. It's the person in your head who you think you're actually talking to.
In one of his videos, and it's called, let me pull up that video real quick. It's called How to Deal with Religious Apologists. That's Philosophy Man 76, How to Deal with Religious Apologists. Now, in this video, he says a lot of bad stuff in this video. It just is not really, doesn't stick. But there's something that he does say. He makes an absolute claim that there is insufficient evidence for the existence of God, or for at least for him to believe in God. That there is sufficient evidence for him to believe in God. That's an absolute claim. That is actually a positive claim.
First of all, everything, what is it? Is there such thing as a negative claim? What do you mean it is a positive claim? First of all, for me to have sufficient evidence in God, yes, when I say my sufficient belief is a feeling, okay? Just like being full is a feeling, just like it's a feeling. So when you say, well, what would be sufficient evidence for you to believe in God? Well, I can't tell you what would be my sufficient evidence, which is what I did say to you. I'm going to show you all the times I've answered this damn question. I've answered it 600 different ways, and you don't accept any of my answers, and you wonder why, and you're like, you're a coward, you don't answer. But the point being is, I can't tell you what would be sufficient for me to believe in God until you give me evidence of God. How would I know that? As I said in the comments, if you go to court and they say, well, you don't start off in court saying, what would be the sufficient evidence I would have to give you to show you this person is guilty? No, you show the evidence first, because people can't judge how they're going to feel. I can't tell you if I'm gonna feel full, and how much food it will take me to feel full. I can't tell you how much evidence it will take me to feel that I understand. I didn't understand evolution, but then I watched the evidence, I saw the evidence, I weighed the evidence. I couldn't tell you before, because I believe in evolution, I couldn't tell you before I believed in evolution how much information I would need to believe in evolution before it was given to me. But as I got the evidence, belief occurred because I saw all the evidence and it was worthy. You can't figure it out beforehand, which is why, and I'm going to show you in a second, I asked you 21 times to tell me what was your evidence, what would you consider criteria to believe in dragons, and like what would I have to show you? And of course you never answer any questions because you can't answer them, because you know the question. No wonder you're a fan of ShockofGod.
Now, to answer that, he replies with a question. He said something along the lines, you can go and read the thing, the comment section. It's really long, maybe a few days. And he says, whatever evidence you have for God is the evidence I will use to believe in God. And he keeps saying he'll agree with me, which is insane. I mean, I don't understand where he gets that logic from.
Once again, apparently he's having a conversation in his own head. All right, here's the answer. By the way, the very first question you asked me, the first post you made on my page was, you don't believe in God because there's no evidence for God's existence. So, question, is absence of evidence evidence of absence? Okay, so my response, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but you can find it yourself. I talked about your initial statement is implying proof, okay? Because when you're trying to make a proof, no. But as far as belief goes, if I don't see anything, if there's no evidence, then I'm not going to believe it. There's a difference between proving something and believing something. And I talk about making up evidence. So your next comment was, oops, that's not what I'm doing. I don't know if you can read it. I'm not creating evidence in my head, blah, 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 which you are. That's what you're doing. But what evidence are you accepting as enough for your belief? That was my question to him. Okay. Well, that's irrelevant because it's not adequate for me. See, so I asked him a question. His first question didn't ask me about sufficient evidence. His first question was, absence of evidence is evidence of absence. And so I then asked him a question. What are you accepting for your belief? Of course, he doesn't answer the question. He just says, oh, that's irrelevant, blah, blah, blah. It's not adequate because what's adequate for me is not adequate for you. Okay, so who's the person who first started turning around this whole thing? I answered your question. I asked you a question. You don't answer. All right. So I wrote this. My next response. You did not ask me what is sufficient for the evidence of God. Where did you write that in your last comment? If you're asking that question, then my answer would be a demonstration that can be verified as only having a cause coming from a God. And a God would know how to make his existence unquestionable to everyone. So you asked a question, I answered that question, I then posed a question to you, you dodged, and then I gave you the answer to your next question anyway. But you don't like that answer. That's the thing with this guy. He just assumes crap, and he's like, well, the evidence for dragons is different than the evidence for gods. Yeah, well, for me it doesn't matter because it's my criteria. You ask me what is my criteria for sufficient evidence, and then I give you my criteria, and then you don't like it, and you go, well, that's not logical. Well, it's my freaking criteria. How are you going to tell me what is sufficient for me to believe in something? If you knew that, well, apparently you're a mind reader, because I don't even have introspection. I can't tell you what would it take me to believe in something before I see the evidence for it. But apparently you're able to do it for me. It's amazing.
It's amazing how, but of course he doesn't even listen to what I say. He doesn't even read it. He just hears what's going on in his conversation with his philosophy boy. I guess he's made it a boy because I'm a little worried about this guy because he might really like boys.
But here you go. I said, well, you've already heard the arguments from this individual. My opinion doesn't matter because, we're not discussing me. We're not discussing whatever I presented. I've made no positive claims. And that's one thing I've been doing lately, people. I do not make any claims. Okay? I don't say God exists. I don't say any of those things because I'm questioning the atheist. I want to find out why they believe I should be an atheist. And if there is no evidence for God, I want to see the evidence for atheism.
Okay, do you see how stupid and cowardly this is? First of all, he's coming on to my video. He goes around, nobody goes to his videos, okay, and looks this stuff up. He came to my video and is like, well, I want evidence to believe in atheism. I didn't try to convert him to atheism. I had a video out. So for him to say, well, I make no claims. First of all, his name is ChristisTruth. That's the name of his handle. So it's quite cowardly to say, well, I'm going to try to attack an atheist, but I'm not going to make any claims for what I believe. Like I don't want to. Here's this technique. I don't want to claim that God exists because then I have to actually defend that, and I don't want to do that because you can't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the atheist give me evidence of a non-belief. So I don't think these people are mentally sane. How about this? If you believe in God, which you obviously do, then just give evidence for God. Don't try to find out the evidence, try to make atheists give you evidence for their not believing. We just don't believe you. You're making a claim all the time that God exists. Even if you don't say there's a claim, that's your claim, okay? If you're not making a claim and I'm not making a claim, then then great. We're not doing anything. We don't believe in anything. Notice we're not having a conversation about leprechauns because you don't believe in leprechauns and I don't believe in leprechauns. We don't have to find proof and sufficient evidence of why leprechauns don't exist. We both know what leprechauns are. We've heard stories about them, but we don't have to have a conversation about it because neither of us believe they exist. But you believe God exists, and so therefore you need to present evidence of it, not what is the evidence for you not believing it exists. What kind of retarded logic is that?
Or the reasons for it, and there really isn't. But here's the here's the thing that just doesn't get me with this guy. I said, well, what I need to know what would be sufficient evidence for you to believe in God, because what is sufficient for one person is not sufficient enough for another. Okay? That's entirely subjective. We're talking about philosophical views here, a worldview that you cannot scientifically prove objectively. Therefore, what is sufficient for one is not sufficient for the other. So what would be sufficient evidence for you to believe in God? It is an honest question. If he makes a positive claim that there's insufficient evidence for God, he needs to give me an answer. What would be sufficient? Now, when I asked him this, he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know what would be sufficient evidence. It could be a million things. And I said, really? Like what? At least name me one. He couldn't do it. He says, it could be many things. I said, well, great. Give me one. Give me one. I want to know. He couldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it. Not that I couldn't do it. I didn't feel like doing whatever you asked me to do. I'm not your... so you like having conversations with yourself in your head, so answer it for yourself.
But here's what I find kind of strange. How do you not know what is sufficient and yet know that something is insufficient? Do you understand?
Oh, let me see if I can think up a million of those off the top of my head. How do I know what is sufficient if I can't tell you what is how do I know that something is insufficient without knowing what is sufficient? Is that what your question is? Let me see if I can come up with a couple of examples to help you out with that. I don't know what it is. What would be sufficient for me to fall in love with a certain girl, but I do know I'm not in love with them right now. is that possible in your worldview or no? I don't know what is. I don't know how many muscle neurons and cells have to fire to allow me to jump over my house. I do know that it is right currently. I do not have the sufficient amount of leg muscles to do such a thing. I do know that that a milliliter of gas is not sufficient to send a rocket to Mars. However, I don't know how much gas or how many milliliters of gas is sufficient to go to Mars. Should I continue, or do I have to give you a million more things? I don't know what's sufficient to make me full because I'm still eating. However, I do know that I am not full eating. I am not full of food right now, so I have to keep eating. Henceforth, evidence. Okay, as I eat more evidence, I get more full. Okay, and if at some point I will have enough food to say I'm full, and at some point I will have enough evidence to say I believe. Do you not understand this? I don't understand if you don't understand this or you just don't want to understand this. But the more you talk, the more I think you just don't understand. Like this is a crazy concept for you.
That's like me saying, I've never eaten chicken, but a burger does not taste like chicken. Well, if you've never eaten chicken, how do you know the burger doesn't taste like chicken? Do you know what I'm saying?
Really? That's your analogy? That's your analogy is, so if you've never eaten, like, how is that an analogy to the sufficient, insufficient? Like, make that, so chicken is to insufficient as burger is to sufficient? Like, your analogy doesn't make sense. Can you please explain your chicken burger analogy? Or did you just come up with any random words that pop in your head and they say, oh, that sounds kind of smart. So I'm smart, I'm a winner, I win, you're a coward.
Then he goes on and he says, well, he kind of changes the argument a little bit. He says, because at first he was saying, whatever evidence is for God, that's the evidence I'll use to believe in God. And then he changes it up. He says, whatever evidence you use to believe in dragons is the evidence I will use to believe in God. He says something almost along that line there. And you can go back and read it. Okay.
Well, why did I change it up? I think I changed it up because I gave you an answer, you didn't like it. I gave you another answer, you didn't like it. So I gave you a third answer. So I don't know what I can do. I either give you answers and you don't accept them, and then when I give you a different answer, I'm changing the argument. So, yeah, cowardly. So cowardly.
Okay. Now, that doesn't make sense either, because that's like asking me to use a rose to prove a tiger or a lion. It doesn't. It makes no sense. Even if you assume or believe God does not exist, by definition, these are two different entities. They're two different things. So how do you use a dragon to prove God?
How do I use a dragon to prove God? Well, considering I didn't say you use a dragon. Considering I talked about the evidence. Okay, so there's dragons. And then there's the evidence for dragons, okay? Like you commit a crime, and then there's the evidence that you did commit the crime. They are two separate freaking things, okay? So I asked you, what is your evidence? Visuals might help you, for dragons, and I will say whatever that evidence is, I will accept that evidence for the same to prove the existence of God. So all you have to do is tell me what would be sufficient evidence for you to believe in dragons. Okay? Even though dragons and gods are different things. In my mind, they're both magical, but all I want is the evidence for one, and I will accept that for the evidence of the other. So all you have to do is tell me. Actually, you don't have to tell me. Tell yourself, what is the evidence that I would accept for the existence of dragons, and henceforth I will agree with that evidence. I don't understand. I know it's hard. It's really deep philosophical stuff here, but I'm giving you an answer to your question. So all you have to do is say, what's the evidence that would be sufficient for dragons? You can't do it.
It makes no sense. Philosophy Man 76, or as I like to call him, Philosophy Boy, has bad philosophy. He then goes on his other YouTube videos and requests other atheists to come and debate me because he can't. He's a coward.
This guy loves calling people a coward, yet he makes videos, he won't show his face. He doesn't answer any of the questions that he asks other people. He just continue, even though I've given him the answer several times. I've challenged him. I've told him I would take down my entire YouTube channel if he could find the quote that he was so adamant that he could find. But yet I never said anything like that, so he didn't find it. So, but I'm a coward. See my face? I'm right here. See you behind an atheist picture, looking like a dope. So he comes on, and let me show you really quickly if I take this whole entire conversation I'm having with this moron. Let me show you what it boils down to. Here's what it is. I see you're eating. Are you full? Who are you? Stop avoiding my question. I asked you first. No, I'm not that full. That's why I'm still eating. So you are making a positive claim that you are not full. Well then, exactly how many chips would it take you to be full then? Well, what kind of question is that? How would I know how many chips I need to eat to be full? I'm still eating the chips. Ha, fool! You claim to not be full, but you cannot give me what evidence is needed to tell me what would be sufficient to make you full. So then how could you know that you are not full right now? You lose. You lose. Lose what? How can I tell? How the hell am I supposed to tell you how many chips I need to eat to be full before I've eaten them? I mean, how would you do that? I mean, I'm curious. Explain that to me. That doesn't even make sense. Oh no, you coward. You are the one who made the positive claim that you are not full. I know I'm full. So therefore I do not have to answer this question. You answer the question, or you are inferior to me intellectually. I am smarter than you and I beat you. What are you talking about? I'm just, where did you even come from? Like, who are you? Like, what is on your head? Why are you bothering me? I'm just trying to eat some chips. I mean, you're really, I gotta tell someone about this. I gotta call someone. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere, crazy man.
Hey, what's up?
Yo. You're not going to believe this. So I'm sitting here eating some food, and there's this insane man in front of me with underwear on his head, I think they are. I don't even know what he's doing. And he starts talking to me about some nonsense about how do I know if I'm full? If I don't know what is sufficient for me to be full, how can I possibly know if I'm full? Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Well, why are you talking to him then? That sounds like a moron.
Oh, look, the coward has to call his friends to help him. Okay, you on the phone. What is the square root of toast?
What?
Yes, that's what I thought. You cannot answer one simple question without answering me a question. You are cowards. All of you are cowards. I have beat you all. All right, dude, you're getting on my nerves. Go be full someplace else. You can be full. That's fine. I don't care. I am not going anywhere. Every day, you walk around and tell people you are not full. And I am going to squash this with logic and intelligence that you do not possess. And I will not allow you to go around and tell people you're not full. My parents were both full. I have a PhD, a master's degree, a BA, a BS, a GED, in every known subject that there is. So I know when I am full. Apparently your worldview does not allow you to know this. And I will not allow you to continue telling people that you are not full, or just sharing it with other people that they are not full. They're all full. As a matter of fact, you're full right now. Stop eating, you fool. Dude, what the?
You know, it's just ridiculous. And I sent him a PM message, and to which he replied the next day, which was this morning. And then I wrote him back, and he says, I do not reply to PMs. Which is a lie, because he just did. Even if he wrote that on there, he did reply. So,
What a child. I told him I don't want to respond to his PMs. Oh, but you already responded to my PM because you just responded by telling me you're not responding. You're a freaking tool, dude. You're a tool. Okay? I'm not responding to your PMs. And yes, I will respond by telling you I'm not responding. Stop being I win. He's like, I win. I won. You responded to my PM by telling me you're not responding. So I'm a winner. All right, you win, child.
those of you out there who ever decides to debate Philosophy Man 76, aka Philosophy Boy, remember that. The guy is a little deceptive. He's very clever in his deception. He's dishonest.
I'm dishonest, right? You came to my channel, started asking me questions, and you say you don't claim that there's a God, even though your name is ChristisTruth. Okay? You ask me silly, stupid questions. When I give you answers, you say no, 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 and you don't accept them. So, and I'm being dishonest, all right? And then when I ask you for evidence of stuff, you don't look it up. You can't find it. All right. I send you videos, you don't watch it. So I'm the dishonest one. You send me videos, I watch the whole damn thing, and then I show you what's wrong with them. I show you a video, and what do? You just go, this video debunked, and then you don't even bother to actually look at the stuff that I send you. So really, dishonesty. Yeah, whatever.
But hey, you know what? I'll make another video later on if he replies, and really just answer the question. I've never made no claims.
You've never made no claims? Okay. So if you never made no claims, I guess you're an atheist. Because atheism is not making any claims. It's saying we just don't believe that there's God. So welcome to atheism. Because you never made no claims.
He goes on to tell me that in a court of law, the person making the claim has to provide evidence. I've made no claims. I've said nothing. I never said God existed. I didn't say anything. I asked you a question, and then you replied to me and trying to get me to answer a question and try to make a claim, which I never made. I've made no claims, nothing. I simply asked you a question, and you cannot answer it.
The sufficient evidence for me to believe in God would be the exact amount of evidence that it would take you to believe in dragons. That's the 22nd time I had to say it. This time I said it, so actually I typed it 21 times, and now I'm saying it verbally for the first time. You'll probably forget it and change it around in your head in the next 30 seconds anyway.
ShockofGod was right. I'll see you guys later. God bless.
Oh, thanks for the blessing.